Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. We're going to have to do an update. I told you if anything ever changed about the Epiphone inspired by Gibson acoustic lineup, I would let you know. And I was on the phone this morning, discovered this quite by accident, and I was talking to Paul, Georgia. And as we were shooting a breeze about upcoming travel schedules and where each of us are going and that kind of thing. For business, we started the topic of the Epiphone inspired by Gibson Hummingbird in particular. And I told Paul, I said, Paul, you got to get one of these. You got to pick one of these up. These things are amazing. And he said, I was looking at them recently, and he said, I noticed that they're made in China now. And I said, what? So I've had like 4 comments since I did a review, my very first review on this particular guitar, this Hummingbird. And the first 2 were done very, very early on, obviously. And somebody had said, well, you be careful because some of them are made in China. And so I went and double checked, and sure enough, none of them were made in China. So I never mentioned that, really, I don't think, on the channel. Well, this morning when I was talking to Paul's a pretty trusted relationship, and he said, Randy, I'm telling you, they say inspired by Gibson, and they are made in China. And I said, well, hang on, Paul. Now, so I pulled up Sweetwater, and I pulled up Epiphone inspired by Gibson Hummingbird, and the very first one up had the orange label in it. So I started reading the serial number and looking at the serial number, because Sweetwater will show you the serial number of the guitar you're buying, okay? So I'm going to put something up right now that talks about these factory codes, and I want you to walk with me on this. The first 2 digits, as you can plainly see here, the first 2 digits represent the last 2 digits of the production year. So if you've got a 2020, as the one shown in the picture, those numbers are going to be 20. And it says the 4th and 5th digits, which is not exactly accurate. It's the 3rd and 4th digits. That is a misprint, has to be. That's the month of the production. So in this case, December of 2020. And then the 5th and 6th digits correspond to the factory code. And I'm going to show you those factory codes here in just a second. And you can see on this one that it is, let's see, number 13, okay? So the factory code on the one shown in the picture is 13. Now, these Epiphone inspired by Gibson acoustic lineup, and I believe this is an electric guitar they've got up here. Mine all say 23, okay? So I'm going to now put up a picture of my particular serial number. And if you look at my serial number, it was made in 2021 of June of 2021, and the factory code there is 23. Every digit after that is that number in the lineup of guitars. So mine was number 13,016 that they actually produced. Okay, here are the factory codes. Okay, these are the factory codes right here, and I want you to pay particular attention to code 15 and 16. And now I'm going to put up the one that was on the Sweetwater website today and show you what that serial number is of that guitar. And it is 23, which is the year, 2023, 06 June, and the factory code is number 15. And of course, this particular guitar is number 248. Okay, because it says 00248. Everybody see that? And so the factory code there is 15, and I don't know how you say that, Qingdao or something like that, Qingdao or however you say that, in China. So you may go, all right, well, what's the big deal? Well, a couple of things. The big deal is that all the tooling that this guitar that I'm holding in my hands was made with the tooling in the old Samick factory, the Masterbuilt factory. Now, could they have had a separate set of tooling to build these guitars in the old Samick factory, and they shipped it to China when they moved operations over there? They could have, but somehow I doubt it. I think what they did was, and I don't know this for a fact, was they just moved the production line over to China, where the woods are likely cheaper, the steel's likely cheaper. I don't know that you're going to have the level of craftsmanship that you had in the Masterbuilt factory. So here's what I would say. I'm not going to say those are bad guitars made over there in China. What I am going to say is I wouldn't touch one with a 10-foot pole unless I could play it and inspect it first. And that's just a fact. They do not have the best reputation for putting out quality guitars. And it's not that they have never put out quality guitars. There are some decent guitars made in China. But overall, not the best quality on the planet. As a result of that, I felt like I owed you to make this video. If you're looking at an Epiphone inspired by Gibson Hummingbird, make double sure that the serial number contains the factory code 23, because that's the guitar I reviewed. I didn't review the one that was made in China. In fact, I'm going to go look on Sweetwater here in just a second and see if my review is up on that Chinese-made one, and see if they left and brought over all the reviews for that line of guitars, because if they did, I got a problem with that, okay? They should not have brought those reviews over. That's a completely different factory. It is not the same instrument. They moved the factory, okay? They moved where these things are made. All bets are off now. This is a different guitar, maybe a quality guitar, I don't know. But I don't want my name attached to that. And so I'm gonna be calling Sweetwater Guitar Center and every other place where I've left reviews on this Epiphone inspired by Gibson Hummingbird, and ask them to remove it if that's the case. But I'll find out about that shortly. The Epiphone inspired by Gibson J45 at Sweetwater had factory code 23 in it. So at the moment, that's what they're selling. The J200, Epiphone inspired by Gibson J200, that I looked at on Sweetwater, had a factory code of 23. But folks, I'm telling you now, double check that label and that serial number. Not only that, but as you saw a minute ago on the back of that headstock for the Epiphone inspired by Gibson Hummingbird that's on Sweetwater's website right now, if you look at the back of that headstock, it plainly says made in China. All right? That is something that is new. That's new. And the fact that that serial number was number 248 ought to tell you that that change recently happened. And what's funny about it is they still want the same price for them. So, again, I'm not saying that these are not the Chinese guitars in this lineup are not good guitars. But that is not the guitar that I reviewed. I want to say that again. That is not the guitar I reviewed. And I'll guarantee you, if J.P. Cormier saw this, he would say the same thing. It's not the guitar he reviewed. I want to make that extra clear. The guitar I have in my hands right now with that orange label have a factory code of 23, made in the Masterbuilt factory in the old Samick factory there in Indonesia. And this is the guitar that I reviewed. Okay? This is the guitar I reviewed. I felt like you ought to know, and you ought to know as soon as I knew. And as soon as I knew would have been about 7 o'clock this morning or 7:30. So the minute I discovered this, I knew I was going to have to put a video out today. Again, the J45 and the J200 inspired by Gibson Epiphones. Those guitars may not have moved over to China yet. And for all I know, they may not. I didn't find a J45 that was produced in China today, and I looked. But Paul looked on, while we were on the phone, I was looking at Sweetwater, and he was looking at the Epiphone website. And from what he saw on Epiphone's website, the offering of an Indonesian-made J45 and J200 are not out there. They show a J200, they show a J45, but they don't show them at the Indonesian factory. So here's my point. Do your homework. Do your homework. If you get to a place to where you can't find these new, get on Reverb, buy one used. Okay? That would be my suggestion. These are different animals. A lot of time and effort went into these guitars. They are quality guitars. I can't tell you anything about these new ones. All right? Any questions? As always, reach out to me, folks. I'm more than happy to help where I can. I work with the information I have at the time. And at the time I did this video, what I told you was the absolute truth. I do not know why, what possessed them to do that. I don't know. To me, it looked like we're pulling one over on you. And that's what I think. That's my honest opinion. They may not like that, but I don't really care. Take care of your friends. Take care of your family. God bless. We'll see you next time.